Welcome to Mr. Bizz Radio, Biz Talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Bizz, Ken Wentworth.
Welcome to another episode of Mr. Bizz Radio with me, Mr. Bizz, Ken Wentworth. And this week, we're going to talk about something we've talked about on the show a bit before, but this is a completely different approach to it. We're going to talk about I'll call it an epidemic. I'm going to go out on a limb there and call it an epidemic of people who are suffering from burnout and or depression. Sometimes both, sometimes one leads to the other. But it's something that is happening everywhere, all over the world globally. We actually have a global guest with us today. And we're going to talk about that from the lens of a Taoist. So again, we've talked about depression and things like that before on the show. We've never had a Taoist on the show. And so when we had the opportunity to interview our guest this week, I said, oh my gosh, this would be great because again, completely different, mindset and approach to how to cure it. And I shouldn't say cure us, but help us manage and or eliminate this. Our guest this week is Mr. Gerard Wouters. He's a Taoist therapist from Holland. He's the author of 7 self-help books and known from many interviews on Dutch national TV. And he's been teaching people for 28 years how to make life simple, happy, and successful the Taoist way, which is the title of his most recent book. And he gives 2-day workshops to help employees recover who suffer from depression and burnout. Gerard, welcome to Mr. Bizz Radio.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, been looking forward to this, and I really appreciate you making the time too. I know there's a big time difference from where we are and where you are. And so I appreciate you accommodating us and making sure we can get you on the show here. But, you've been doing this particular thing for 28 years. If you would tell us a little bit about your journey, your career journey, your entrepreneurial journey, et cetera.
Well, funny thing, I met my teacher at a business meeting, a little Taoist Thai guy, and he was staring at me, which I found very annoying. But after the business meeting ended, I walked up to him, and before I could say anything, he told me who I was, what my issues were, where it came from, etc., etc. So I was completely flabbergasted. This little guy knew everything about me while I didn't even know him. So I invited him to come home, and he told me a lot more and started testing me for about 5 weeks or so. So he stayed with me for 5 weeks. And in those 5 weeks, I saw really incredible things happening. And I told him, I want to get to the bottom of this because what you're doing, absolutely impossible. I don't understand what. And he said, well, okay. And he started testing me for 5 weeks, stayed at my place. And after 5 weeks, he asked me if I wanted to learn this. So I said, you know what? You better believe it. But how are we going to do this? Well, he said, well, you know what? I don't think it will be very smart for you to come to Thailand because at that time, a Dutch guy could not rent or buy any property out there without being married to a Thai woman, which no offense, but I discussed. I'm absolutely not attracted to Thai women.
Yeah.
On the contrary. So, but I said, you know what? I work as a financial interim manager at this moment, so there's enough money out here. So why don't you come over here and stay at my place for as long as you need? And so he did for about 7 years. He went up and down to Thailand and back. And after 7 years, he invited me to come to Thailand to do my end trials. And that was in 2002. But a few years before that, I asked him, what you're telling me and what you're explaining to me, what you're learning me is so incredibly valuable. It should not be locked up in a monastery. So if it's okay with you, I want to turn this into a professional treatment. And he says, okay, there's no problem there. But under one condition, you leave me out of it. So I asked him, what do you mean? He said, well, I don't want you to tell anybody about me because I don't want to become a tourist attraction, which I obviously understood. So no problem there. So I turned it into a professional treatment, and he followed me for sometimes, went up and down, but sometimes he joined the sessions, the treatment sessions, and approved. So after 2002, I was done, and I never saw him again. But obviously, he was very old at that time already. So yeah, I don't think he's alive anymore. But yeah, I don't know. But I started in 1997. I started this treatment and started with a few people, and well, within a year I was completely booked, completely full, and the financial interim management completely vanished. So yeah, that's a bit my journey in a nutshell. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So during those 7 years, I'm kind of curious, what were some of the highlights of the things you were doing with him for those 7 years of that training and preparation?
Well, a big part of this treatment is facial expressions and body language. That's what you need to learn how to read. And trust me, it's very surprising what you can see at people. It goes very far. You can even see all kinds of illnesses with people in their body language and in their facial expressions. So when people come to my practice, I put them on the couch, give them a drink, and start explaining what I see with them. And 99% accurate. And you can see everything: sexual abuse, religious fanatics, fear, worrying, grief, relationships trouble. You can see it all in your body language and facial expressions. So I don't have to make a diagnosis, because within 5 seconds I know exactly who I'm facing with, what his issues are, and how to treat it. So that makes my treatment very effective and very short. And that's how I can do it in 2 days workshops. I call it a workshop, but in fact it's a treatment, only with this condition that nobody has to tell me anything, because I can see everything in their body language and facial expressions. And trust me, people find that very, very nice, because with all the other therapists, they need to spit their guts and dig in their past, and with my treatment that's not necessary. Totally useless. Yeah. So what I basically do is I give a lot of answers instead of questions, and I explain all kinds of life processes that people go through, and make them aware where it goes wrong, and how to do it the other way around, and make their life simple, happy, and successful the Taoist way, which is a completely different view on life. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting to me, and that's why one of the reasons why I have you on the show is, I've not been exposed to Taoism much at all, and so it's all new to me, and so I'm learning as we're going along to this. So again, we're talking with Gerard Wouters. We'll put his website and everything. You can also follow him on LinkedIn and Facebook, and pick up his most recent book, How to Make Life Simple, Happy, and Successful the Taoist Way. We're gonna come back after the break and talk about why people are suffering from burnout and depression and how to manage and prevent it.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Bizz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Bizz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Bizz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Bizz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizzSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Bizz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, and I hope you guys are learning along the way just as I am, because as I was mentioning, I've not been exposed to Taoism before, and so this was all a brand new thing to me. So during those 7 years, when you were kind of going through this training and preparation for this treatment that you now do, you said a lot of it has to do with body language up front, right? For you to essentially, I don't know if I'm using the correct terminology, but essentially diagnose people, right? See some of the things you can see from their body language and from how they carry themselves and everything. Matter of fact, Gerard, you're making me feel a little self-conscious here. I don't know what I should be,
Don't worry.
But then once you kind of do that piece of the process, and then you're telling them how to fix that, right? Those things. So was that a bigger part of the process? So the identification, it was part of that 7 years, I'm sure. What part of it was, like now that we've identified that you've got, these particular issues, and by the way, you were mentioning, you can tell very quickly. It reminded me of like when someone you see on movies or shows or whatever, where someone goes to like a tarot card reader or something like that, which I know is completely different than Taoism. I'm not comparing the two, but I just mean the reaction that people have, like, oh my gosh, how did you know that this and how did you know that? I assume that's some of the reactions you get.
Well, they're very surprised. They're very surprised that I can, and there's a lot of things your body tells you, like on top of your shoulders, there's anger. So when you had a fight, and even if it was 20 years ago and you haven't processed it yet, it'll still be on top of your shoulders. So it'll be cramped up. And between your shoulder blades, you find grief. So when you, by example, lost your mom a few years ago, you will see that inside on the right side of your shoulder blade, the inside of your shoulder blade. It'll feel like a little, how do you call it? Like a wire, like an iron wire. It's hard, And by identifying how low it is inside your body, you can see how many years ago it was. And trust me, people are very surprised when I give them, there's grief here, and that's 7 years ago. And they, what? Huh? How can you tell? Well, your body is telling it to me. I don't suck it out of my thumb. It's what your body tells me. Yeah. So
yeah,
the body is divided in all kinds of sections, and you can identify all kinds of problems in these sections. Let me explain. Your body is, you can put it in half. The left part of your body is your emotional part. Yeah. And the right side is your analytic part. So your thinking, your your analyst part. So what I tell people sometimes, you know what? When you found your guy in bed with somebody else, it'll be on the left side because you hate the bastard. And when it's years ago, it'll be on the right side because then it's not a feeling anymore, but it's still in your system. You haven't processed it yet. And why you haven't processed it yet? It's because you don't understand why. Yeah? Communication is a huge problem in this world, especially. So, yeah. So when happened today, it's on the left side. When it's a few years ago, it's on the right side.
Okay. So let's get into that a little bit. Why is it now that you think that people are suffering? I mean, it's a global thing. I mean, it's definitely very prevalent here in the United States, and I think as well globally, that so many people are suffering from burnout, whether it's from your job, or it could be burnout from a relationship, different things, and or depression. What are some of the things that you noticed that you think is causing some of that? Why so many people are afflicted by it?
Well, what you see with the people who have the depressions is overthinking. They worry 24/7. And when you do that for a few weeks, you get very tired and negative, And then it's not strange that your thinking will become negative. And when you do that for a few weeks, they call that a depression. The problem is, every one of us learns that we have to think all day, but according to Taoism, that's not correct. Because when you think, there's no time and no room to enjoy. And when you worry all day, you become blind to the things that are happening around you, because everything in life happens for a reason. But when you think all day, you will never discover the reason, and you will never have peace with it. So that's the depression part. And what you see very often with these people is that they have the feeling that they're not good enough. And this causes them to start proving to the world they're worthy. And eventually they start proving so much and stepping over their boundary so much that their body just gives up and says, okay, we're done. No more. So this is one of the things that I unlearn. There are 3 basic things that I unlearn people. One of them is the feeling that they're not good enough. And I immediately admit that this is a signal they get from their surroundings, because we live in a very productive oriented society, but it's not working. Because 54 million adults in the US suffer from depression, and 63% of the employees suffer from burnout. So there's your proof. It doesn't work, you know. And another thing is, when you start worrying all day, you create fear. And fear is something that we have learned ages ago. And at that moment it had a function, because at that moment we were living in the jungle with a lot of big animals who wanted us for breakfast.
Right.
But I don't know about you and your town, but I don't see bears and tigers on the road anymore, not even in my mind. So
Right.
that's something we need to unlearn, because when you get into the fear modus, you give the power to your life to somebody else, and that's not how it should be. You should be in control of your life, and fear makes you blind, like overthinking all day. It makes you blind. You don't see what's happening in the world anymore. And you know, we all get signs. A lot of people call it setbacks. But do you realize that a setback is a signal that is telling you what you are doing wrong? And in my 2-day workshops, and also in the private sessions I give to people, I explain to them how to decipher this. And when you know how to decipher this, a lot of setbacks become a message that you can work with. Yeah, you can act on them. You can do things the other way around. When you find out that the road you're taking on the left side is the wrong side, then maybe you should try the right side. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give you an example. Let's pretend that you have a friend and that you had a fight with him a few months ago. At one point, you think, you know what? Let's get over this fight and let's meet. So you call him up and you make an appointment, and a few days later you go to him, and on your way to this friend of yours, you get a flat. How's about that for a setback? Well, now there's 2 things you can do. You can either repair or replace your tire and still go to that friend, and I will guarantee you that you will not have a good day, because something else will happen. A traffic jam, an accident, you name it. Yeah. But what I teach people is that you can do it the other way around too. You can turn around and walk away. And what do I mean with turning around and walking away? You call this friend up and you say, you know what? I have a flat and a terrible mood. So you understand that I don't feel like coming anymore. And of course he will understand. And next thing you do is say, you know what? You give me a hand and you call me in a few days and we'll make a new appointment. Now there's 2 things that can happen. Either he will not call you for 5 weeks or never. And if he hasn't called you within 5 weeks, you will know that it's not a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real friend will call you the same day or the day afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's good
Absolutely.
stuff. We got to hit another break here, Gerard. Hold your thought for if you would. We're going to hit a break here, guys. Talking with Gerard Wouters. Again, check out his most recent book, geez Louise, E for me to say, How to Make Life Simple, Happy, and Successful the Taoist Way. You can find that on Amazon. Come back after the break, and we're going to get some tips on how to simplify your life the Taoist way.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, talking with Gerard Wouters. So I want to get into this because we're last segment here. I want to pick your brain a little bit, Gerard, if I can. Don't give away the secret sauce, everything in the book, right? Obviously, but what are some of those things that we can do, or some practical things that we can do in everyday life to simplify things, to avoid some of this depression, burnout, et cetera, in much a Taoist way?
Well, like I explained before, there's a few problems. That is fear, worrying all day, overthinking, and the feeling not being good enough.
So let me stop you there. So I think overthinking is a big one, and honestly, sometimes I'm guilty of it. What's one or two things that we can do if you are an overthinker, or someone out there is an overthinker? What's one or two things that you might be able to do to just kind of squash some of that?
Well, realize that when you think, you cannot enjoy. And when you enjoy, you cannot think. So choose. That simple. Because a lot of things are choices, even fear. There's a movie called After Earth with our friend William Smith, with his real son, is also in the film, his son. And he says something very good. He says, you know what? Danger is a reality, but fear is a choice. And that's exactly right. Exactly right. And when people realize that they have a choice to fear or not, then everything changes around them. And what people need to do is to start evaluating themselves. Because realize that you are worthy of being you. And stop pleasing other people. Start pleasing yourself. Set your boundaries, because you're worth it. Yeah.
So how important, along those lines, Gerard, how important it is for people, maybe I'm overstepping here, maybe this isn't the direction you were going, but in establishing those boundaries and helping manage some of these negative afflictions that people have, how important it is for people to learn how to say no, like when they're setting boundaries.
Oh yeah, no is a very powerful word. And you know what? A lot of people fear that when they say no against people, that they are going to hate them. Yeah, I had a doctor in my practice, and in the second session he came to me, he said, you know, I don't know what you did to me, but the last 2 weeks, I told everybody no. And with some of the people, I had something like, what the hell did I do? And he said, nobody had a problem with it. And I was so surprised. And I said, surprised? Why are you surprised? Because when you say no, you create respect. And people will realize that they don't have to ask you that anymore. So that will make your life a lot simpler. And that's what it's all about. Make your life simple. Yeah. I had an interview with somebody else. He says, you know, you're 61, I don't see any wrinkles on your face or whatever. You must lead a very stressful life. Well, forget about it. I make my life simple. I will not allow people to make it complicated. And that's the difference between me and a lot of other people. I don't allow people to make it complicated. And I understand setbacks, because obviously I have setbacks too. But I know how to decipher them and how to work with it. Yeah, turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if someone's feeling depressed, they're bummed out about something, maybe it's an event that's happened in their life, maybe they're facing financial problems or relationship problems or business problems, whatever it might be. What are a few things that those people might be able to do to sort of reverse that?
Well, the most simple thing is ask for help. A lot of people, and especially guys, think that when they ask for help, they're weak. Well,
Yep.
forget it, because when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and tell people that you don't know, you will find out that there's always somebody who says, you know what, I do, and I can help you. So ask for help, because it's out there. Yeah? Yes.
Mhm.
It's out there. And people who deserve it always get help. And worrying pushes it away. Yeah?
Yeah.
Express yourself. Ask for help. And you will see that there's always somebody who can and who will. It's easy
What
as
about
that.
what about as a business owner and you're employing people? What are some ways to identify someone on your team that might be suffering from burnout? And then again, is it a similar process with burnout and depression of how to help them?
Well, usually somebody gets depressed and afterward they get burned out. That's usually the route they follow.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And this might be a surprise. The one who produces the best in your company is the first one to fall. Because he will produce the most of all because he's trying to prove himself.
Okay.
And if you address that and make him feel comfortable without trying to prove himself, you will see that he will produce more, because people under pressure produce less. And I know that's a contradiction, but it's true. I've been managing people for 21 years, and I always had the best producing department as an interim manager. But the radio was on, we made jokes, people felt fine, you know. They enjoyed being at work. And when people enjoy being at work, they work harder without pressure. So stop pushing people and start appreciating people. And when somebody is pushing his butt off, address it and tell him, you know what, you're worth it. So relax and enjoy your work instead of pushing your boundaries, because it's not going to serve you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to be able to identify, because, and I'm glad you mentioned that that's the typical route is depression leads to burnout. So one, kind of precedes the other. So really, if you take some of the tips that you've given us on depression and how to avoid that or eliminate it, you can avoid, getting to the stage where burnout. It's almost like, you're going up the ladder of bad stuff, of, going from depression to burnout, which, is something important that we don't want to do. We're running out of time here, Gerard. I hate to say it, fascinating conversation. I really enjoy it. Again, you can check out Gerard's most recent book. Again, he's got 7 different self-help books that he's the author of. But his most recent is called How to Make Life Simple, Happy, and Successful, the Taoist Way. You can find that on Amazon. And again, you can go out. We'll put his website in the show description. You can also follow him on LinkedIn and Facebook. Gerard, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and hope to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms, or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100+ streaming platforms. at MrBizNetwork.com.